The moment the little girl spoke, the world inside the CEO's glass-walled office shifted in a way no balance sheet ever could, because her voice, small, clear, unafraid, cut through the air like a blade wrapped in innocence. "Ma'am, that's my dad's signature," and for a heartbeat, nobody moved, not the executives frozen around the polished table, not the CEO whose eyes were fixed on the framed certificate she had passed every day for years without questioning, and not the janitor standing behind. The child, his shoulders tense beneath worn blue overalls, his hands still smelling faintly of cleaning solution and old paper, hands that had scrubbed these floors long after midnight while dreams slept in locked offices, and the CEO felt a strange pressure in her chest as she stared at the elegant handwriting beneath the gold seal, because she knew that signature better than her own. It belonged, she believed, to the anonymous genius who had saved her company in its darkest hours, the unseen consultant whose reports had predicted market crashes, uncovered fraud, and corrected legal traps before anyone else even noticed them, a ghost who had demanded no credit, no money, only anonymity, and now a child was pointing at that name as if it were something as ordinary as a lunchbox left on a kitchen table, and slowly the CEO turned her gaze from the frame to the girl, noticing the way she clutched her father's finger, the way her eyes held neither fear nor arrogance, only certainty, and when the CEO finally asked, "What do you mean, sweetheart?" the girl swallowed and repeated herself, louder this time, because she had learned that truth deserved a strong voice. "My dad writes like that. He signs my school notes like that. He taught me cursive when I was 5, and the room seemed to exhale all at once as disbelief rippled through the executives, some scoffing silently, others staring at the janitor as if he had suddenly turned invisible again, hoping the moment would pass, but it didn't, because the CEO's memory was racing now, colliding moments together like shattered glass. The night she almost lost everything when a hostile takeover loomed, the anonymous envelope slipped under her door containing a single page that changed her strategy and saved her company, the times she wondered who could possibly care enough to help her without reward, and her gaze dropped to the janitor's face where years of restraint finally cracked, not with anger, but with exhaustion, and he spoke before she could ask, his voice low, respectful, weighted with history, admitting that he never intended for his daughter to say anything, that he had only brought her with him that evening because her school had closed early and he couldn't afford childcare, and as he spoke, the story spilled out, not dramatically, not heroically, but quietly, like truth often does, about how he once had an office like this, once wore suits instead of overalls, once signed his name at the bottom of reports that shaped entire industries until a powerful partner framed him for a mistake that wasn't his, a lie he couldn't afford to fight in court, a scandal that erased his reputation overnight, leaving him blacklisted, and how cleaning buildings became the only work that didn't ask for resumes or references, and the CEO felt her throat tighten as she realized how many times she had passed him without seeing him. How many nights he had emptied her trash while protecting her company better than anyone on her payroll, because when he noticed flaws in contracts while cleaning offices, or overheard whispered plans while changing bins, he wrote reports anonymously and slipped them through doors, believing that protecting something good mattered more than being thanked, and when the CEO asked why he never revealed himself, his answer broke her defenses completely, because he said, "People listen to titles, not truth." "I didn't have a title anymore," and the little girl squeezed his hand, adding softly that her dad always said helping quietly was still helping, and in that moment, the CEO, who had built her life on control and certainty, felt tears blur her vision, because she finally understood that loyalty doesn't always come from contracts, sometimes it comes from character, and she stood up, walked to the wall, took down the framed certificate, and held it between them like evidence and apology combined, telling him that the company he had saved more times than anyone knew would no longer pretend he didn't exist, that his name would be restored, his work acknowledged, and his dignity returned, and when she knelt to the little girl's level and thanked her for telling the truth, the child smiled, not proudly, but peacefully, because she had done what her father taught her. And as the janitor wiped tears he didn't know he'd been holding back for years, the executives understood something they would never forget. Greatness doesn't always wear a badge, sometimes it carries a mop, and as the office lights glowed against the city night, a silent promise was made that integrity would no longer be invisible, and if this story moved you, if it reminded you that real heroes walk among us unnoticed, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because stories like this don't just entertain, they remind us why humanity, honesty, and courage still matter.